What is a level 5 leader? This is my second video of the Good Great Concept series. This is the first video where I break down the 7 parts in better detail, more detail, I should say, than the first video. So the first video is the introduction. If you haven't seen it, please go back and watch it and help all this make sense and make better sense. So let's just get along with it. So the level 5 leader, well, before I say that, let me say this, that there's a saying that the range of a company's success is determined by the range of its leadership. What does that mean? What that means is a company could become successful because it has a great product, or it offers a good service, or it's got great employees, or it's got a great team, great location, good advertising campaign. But its success is limited by its leadership. So if the leadership is not active in pulling these things together, they're only going to get but so successful because of the product, or because of the people, or because of the location. A level 5 leader is someone who can take all those pieces and take that company beyond being good, beyond being one of the best, to actually being the best, to being dominant. And so the author, Jim Collins, and his team, which he refers to as the chimps, when they were battling over, they were studying the companies that were moderately successful and the companies that were dominant. And they were studying its leadership in particular. And they were trying to come up with what qualities were the difference between the moderately successful and the dominant. So what they discovered was there was almost no difference between the leadership of the good companies and the great companies, but there were differences. And so in lining up the qualities, the characteristics of leadership, they came up with 5 levels of what is considered good leadership. So now each level builds upon the last. Okay, so a level 1 leader, even though they're the low end of the good leaders, is still a good leader. So if you, excuse me, if you were comparing yourself to this list and you find out that you're a level 1 leader, it doesn't mean that you're not a good leader. It just tells you where you are and what steps you need to take to go to the next level. So a level 5 leader is one who is a combination of 1 through 4 plus the qualities of level 5, which I'll give in a second. Okay, so let's get on with it. So the level 1 leader is the basic good leader. He's someone that is competent. He has great product knowledge. He's an expert in his field. He is highly competent. He's highly knowledgeable. He's skilled, and that's pretty much it. And so think of your local mechanic that's just an ace mechanic. He's it's got a shop. He's a great mechanic, probably one of the best around. And maybe he has 5 mechanics, but he's the guy. He's the man, and the other ones are just okay. That shop can only go so far. They're limited. Their success is determined by how far that one mechanic, that one leader can take them. The difference between them and the number 2 leader, the level 2 leader is someone who uses his skills that we talked about in the level 1 leadership. He uses that competence, he uses that expertise to make his team better, right? So now you think about the barbershop where you have 4 mediocre barbers, but the guy that runs a shop, he's a great barber. If he's a level 2 leader, he takes his expertise and he helps the other 4 become better barbers. They become great barbers. You know what I mean? And so now if you take a shop where there's one guy who's awesome and the rest are mediocre, but then you have another shop where all five guys, the whole team is awesome, they're going to go further. Okay, so that's a level 2 leader. Level 3 leader. Level 3 leader is what they call the effective manager. He is someone who understands management. He knows how to pull these resources together. He knows how to manage money. He knows how to lead his people to becoming better employees. He knows how to put people where he needs to put them, how to train them. He has the qualities of the level 1 leadership, the qualities of level 2 leadership, and then on top of that, he has management skills. Because remember, like we said, with the mechanic shop and the barber shop, those leaders may be good at what they do, but they're not necessarily good managers, right? How often have you seen that where businesses were run by somebody who knew what he was doing, he just wasn't that great in the office, right? And so the level 3 leader is the guy who's good in the office. The level 4 leader. The level 4 leader is one who has vision. He's leading with passion. He's someone who has an idea where this company should go, and he, can move the company in that direction. He's a little bit more than just a manager. He's like I said, he's a leader. He's the guy in the front, leading the charge, right? The manager, the level 3 leader, might be good at moving resources around and getting the operation going, but it's the level 4 leader who leads the whole organization, who points the direction, who guides the company based on his vision. They make good executives, and then the level 5 leader. The level 5 leader has all the qualities of 1 through 4, but he has 3 other qualities. One, he has a great personal humility. He is not just competent. He's not just a good leader. He's not just knows how to develop people. He's not just a visionary. He's also humble. And I'll explain more about that in a second. The second characteristic of the level 5 leader is that he's disciplined. He has he's got laser-like focus, and he's highly committed. He's courageous. So these things are not necessary when we talk about leaders of organizations. Sometimes people think too technical, right? The level 5, what makes that the difference between a level 5 leader and the level 4 leader is not it's not technical. It's not something that requires an MBA. You know what I mean? It's not somebody that's got to be, a genius with numbers. He's a little bit more than a visionary. He's a little bit more than the guy with great ideas. It's inside. He's got this personal humility, this drive. He's got character, and it's because of that character that the company goes far. And so, what do they call that? They call that a professional will. Right? He doesn't just come to work. He's almost obsessed with success. And one of the things about level 5 leaders is that level 5 leaders are rarely found on the outside. A lot of people think, well, we need to go find, a great manager, a great CEO, and bring him in. Right? He's not a star CEO. Very often, the level 5 leader is somebody from within. He's got a personal attachment. He's vested in that company, you know, uh, something we talk about in management is nepotism. Very often, the guy that started the company leaves the company to his son, and how many times have you seen the son screw the company up, right? But that's not always the case. Sometimes the son becomes a greater leader than the dad. Now, I hate to use this guy because I can't stand him, but take, for example, Donald Trump. Donald Trump is not the smartest guy on the block. He's not the most educated. He doesn't have great character, but he has a personal uh, um, investment. He has a personal connection to what his father left behind, and he ended up becoming greater than his dad. And level five leaders, not saying that he's a level five leader because he's not, but level five leaders very often are not someone you would expect to be a great leader. And he doesn't necessarily have this great charisma that like, for example, Lee Iacocca, right? Lee Iacocca, as long as he was at Chrysler, uh, they were hugely successful. But towards the end of his tenure there, by the end of his career, he was actually on his way down. But he was charismatic enough that he was able to sell his vision, to sell his idea to the company, to investors, and things like that. And so um, he is not necessarily a level five leader because he had a huge ego. He was a star CEO. Uh, Even though he was probably passionate, um, and he was he was competent. Uh, I think probably he took more credit than he should have. Um, when things started to go downhill, he didn't always take responsibility for those for their shortcomings, which is a quality of the level five leader. The level five leader is often the last to take credit, and he's the first to take responsibility. He doesn't scapegoat. He doesn't punish his people when things are going poorly. Um, he is part of the problem solving process, even if he's part of the reason why they started having problems. He's part of the solution. Um, he's ambitious without the ego. Very, very often we see leaders that are so self focused that when they leave an organization, the organization dies. Why is that? Because some leaders are driven, but they're driven for success because this is what they're competitive, and this is what motivates them. But they're not necessarily trying to lay the groundwork for this company to go on without them, right? And that's one of the characteristics of a great company, is that that company becomes great even after its leader leaves. Sam Walton dies, Walmart is still on top. Ray Kroc, retires and passes away, but McDonald's still going on. Colonel Sanders passes away, and KFC continues being dominant in its market. So, for the level five leader, he's humble enough that, oh man, matter of fact, let's go back and talk about that humility that I'm talking about. A real humility is where you're confident, you know that you are competent, but you are humble enough to know that you don't have all the answers. Humble leaders will yield to people on his team, which is why I say Donald Trump is not a level five leader. They're not micromanagers. They're developers of people, just like we talked about with the level two leader. He's a developer of people. Excuse me. He trusts his people, and he's humble enough to know that there are people within my organization that I need to take a step back, even though I'm the man in charge. I need to take a step back and let the expert make the decision. Um, which is a quality that another person I don't like, which is George Bush. George Bush knew he did not have all the answers, so he did yield to members of his cabinet, which is something that Trump doesn't do. That he tries to make decisions for the people around him. He surrounds himself with yes people, yes men. And one of the things that I will say about somebody I'm also not that crazy about, but I actually admire his leadership style, Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan put people who really knew their areas of responsibility, and he allowed them to make decisions even if they disagreed with him. And that's one of the qualities of a level 5 leader. Howard Hughes, for example, when he inherited his father's company, he got into aviation. He made decisions in areas that he was not an expert in, and he paid dearly for it. He killed his airline company. He killed his film company. I don't know too much about his real estate company, but I'm pretty sure he killed that too. The only thing that Howard Hughes did not lose money on were his projects where he was not in charge, right? And the reason why is because his ego was too big, that he was not humble, and he wanted to control everything. And a level 5 leader has that humility. He's got the competence, he's got the vision, he's got the management skills, he has the people skills, but he's also humble. He's got an undying professional will to succeed. He has the vision to want to see this organization go beyond him, to become bigger than him. He invests in his people, even mentoring a successor, which is something that guys like Lee Iacocca didn't do. Things that many level 4 leaders don't do. Many star leaders, star CEOs don't do, is develop the next generation. And that is the difference between leaders. That's the difference between a leader who leads a company to become good and leaders who become great. So that's all I've got for the day. Next video, we will talk about getting the right people on the bus. All right, have a good day.